Hello there and welcome to the Digital in Physio podcast. I'm your host, Hamza, and today we are talking about sensors. This podcast is all about innovation and advancement in the exciting field of rehab tech. And today, for this topic, we are joined with Markus Stefka. Hi, Markus. How are you doing?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. So thank you for
Perfect.
joining us today. For me, Markus, I've known you from the content and the posts that you write on LinkedIn. So for me, you are the sensors and biofeedback expert. But I'm sure you can tell us a bit more about your work, your journey, and what brought you to this exciting field of sensors and biofeedback.
Also, thanks for inviting me.
You're welcome.
So, I started actually in a, let's say, non-technical field. I studied psychology. And then when I did my master's in economic psychology, I had kind of something like I needed a job and found something where, okay, they need someone preferred with a psychology background. I was, okay, nice. Finally, I have a job. And it was a biofeedback company. So this is where it all started, and then I got hooked in the field. So I always liked the healthcare field, but I really liked the tangible stuff, like the hardware stuff, where you use some electronics to do stuff. And yeah, so with biofeedback, I started as, let's say, as an intern or something like only like a small employee. But then I gradually started to get more knowledge about biofeedback, about the technology behind it, about who uses it, in which way. So this is actually my biggest area of expertise. And after the biofeedback company, I started at a company called Sendence, also still there, which invented a way of sensors, where this is where it became really deep, the kind of knowledge, because here was really not only selling or educating people about biofeedback, about the technique, but really about deep tech, where you use sensors to add into other products, sometimes new products, sometimes products that will be changed by the sensors. And this is when I started also doing the content, where you kind of met me.
Yeah.
Because I was just thinking it's such an interesting field, and even the sensors that we don't use, that we did not use, or I never sold, I have an interest in them because I think it's a really, really interesting field. And it never
Yeah.
stops. So now it's not even solely professional. It's also a hobby. On my table here, I have some smartwatch that is open source, and you can program it and use the sensors for, and also plan to do stuff with that.
Yeah, that's amazing. So first, it's a non-traditional background.
It
So
is.
if someone sees your content, they just think you're coming from a biomedical engineering angle at stuff. But basically, this world knowledge, field knowledge, is showing in how you you go through this thinking, and also you are talking about this watch that you are trying to work with. So my idea is, and the main reason when I think about sensors and rehab therapists and why they should learn more about it is the path that I'm seeing that innovation and tech is going to right now is that the timeline from idea to execution is going shorter. Not necessarily easier or more profitable. God knows how many founders are struggling in this regard. But if a therapist today is frustrated from a problem they are having with patients and they decide to go and create a product with all the AI tools, non-coding tools, 3D printing, they can have a minimum viable product in a month that would have took a year before that. So that's the reason why I wanted us to talk more about sensors. Starting there, before we go any deeper, let's just from your field knowledge, from what you've seen, let's sum up the applications where you think sensors are at the heart of the innovation, and we go from there.
So there's some things I start with the counterintuitive. I start with the most big things where it's just not possible without sensors. This is companies like Safinus, for example, who are using sensors at the moment. They have also a more complex product, but the easy to understand product. They have kind of an insole which can recognize the ground you're walking on, because if you step, it is force sensitive resistors, so, or I don't know, it's pressure sensors, it's force sensors at least.
Yes.
So if you walk on different underground, like of course you get different reading in the sensors, and they channel that into an actuator that then gives a signal to the body so that your prosthetic leg, which has no nerves or no feelings, then you get a feeling there. You see,
Mhm.
okay, if it vibrates like that, it is a hard underground. If it vibrates like that, it's a soft underground.
Mhm.
Um, it's not only that this is helpful with stuff like phantom pain,
Mhm.
but also giving the feeling back, because this is something, one of the biggest issues. No matter how good the prosthetic is, it feels like a dead item on your
Mhm.
body. So for the embodiment of the prosthetic leg, this is really important, and it's just not possible without sensors. Or one other area which I really like for functional electric stimulation, um, that you use an EMG, a very, very good EMG, to track residual activity, let's say after a stroke, that you most of the time, if the nerves are not completely severed, you have some residual muscle activity, like in a very, very, very low amount, but it's still, you can't really feel it, but it's traceable with sensors. And this sensor then traces, okay, there is some activity here because the user tries to like activate the leg, and then it stimulates.
Mhm.
So by this direct combination, it strengthens the mind-muscle connection again and makes rehab easier, better, or sometimes only possible.
Mhm.
So this is some of the things where I think this just not possible without sensors, or basically anything where I would say you'd have to be. I always said in biofeedback. Sorry, in biofeedback, I always said, of course, there are people. I use the cliche of living in yogis in Indian mountains who practice this all their life and feel everything in their body with a really perfect interoception, but
Mhm.
most people don't. So here sensors are really a core of a product because they can show you stuff you just can't see or feel, which
Yes.
is the main thing of biofeedback.
Yeah, exactly. Last year, I recognized that I have very tense hamstrings. I couldn't track the reason why. I always stretch, but then I realized once when I was sitting to write, because like that's the core of what I do, and nothing is coming up, and I have a deadline. So I start contracting my legs. Like I'm very tense. Like it's just happened to me. Like after months of like being confused, like why this is happening. I found it, and I was like, oh my God, if there was a pants with sensors that tells me I'm really contracting my hamstrings, that would be much easier for me. And exactly like you said, I like the idea of the sensors that give sensation back in the prosthetic, because how I see it is, okay, we got the patient to become functional. They are walking again. They have this prosthetic, but there is an element of humanity in there. It's
Exactly.
so it's not like okay, they are walking and like that's all. We are bringing this technology to increase this humanization and being more empathetic with people. Um, and you
There's
touched on.
a Yeah, sorry for the interference, but it's one thing where really, because when people are thinking of, this is a really, I want to emphasize the point you just said,
Yeah.
because like people are persons. So even if something is, you say, not useful in an instrumental way, there was a recent study who was quite highlighted, where they made sensors also on a prosthetic hand, and then you could just tell if the thing is hot,
Mhm.
medium, or cold,
Yeah.
which makes not really any sense, because like if somebody with a prosthetic hand wants to touch something, he uses just the other hand if he wants a coffee.
Yes.
But the ability to feel is something that is um, important in itself without having any use, because
Yes.
people are not useful.
Yes. Yes. Exactly. So it's like we're not machines. it's okay
Exactly. Yeah.
to look into the complete human experience, and not just what makes them functional or independent, but also the things that brings them back their the sense of joy in life, because they missed essential functions, not only the physical function.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, so you touched on some types of sensors while you were talking, like the pressure sensors, maybe temperature sensors, heat sensors, uh, also the EMG, the one that detect nervous or let's say muscle function, muscle contraction. What other types of sensors are like less known, but you found them to be like useful in many applications?
So what is actually like the ones you mentioned are actually like the staple, but the funny thing is like the staple sensors in, let's say, our field is still not as much recognized in the broad area of medicine. So even if a force-sensitive resistor, which measures pressure or force, is something every bioengineer knows, you have many people working in fields that could use such sensors who don't really know what they do. Same with temperature. Temperature is actually something. If you would have talked with someone else, there's a big chance he would not have said temperature.
Hmm.
It's one of the most underutilized sensors, in my opinion. I recently made a post about a company it's actually in Canada, I think.
Hmm.
Um, Orphix, they make an insole with heat. They track the temperature for diabetic feet. And this is something I always like. I got to know them after I was thinking about that. So
Yeah,
they had the idea first, but I also
yeah.
because like you can track diabetic feet quite good with thermographics. But like most people focus on pressure sensors because okay, you have to reduce the pressure spots, you have to reduce ulcers, but like if a doctor wants to see if there's an inflammation somewhere, he also kind of touches it and also checks for if it's hot.
Hmm.
So a sensor can do that also. So I would say temperature is in general like not only in rehab, one of the most underutilized sensors that there is. But like if we talk specifically about rehab, I would say that mm, non-typical psychological sensors are
Hmm.
underutilized. So we have these things like HEG, which measures like brain activity. It's an NIRS. Or we have GSR, like the skin conductance level, or like the heart rate variability. And these are kind of sometimes shoved aside because these are for the psychologists. They are for depression and stress and stuff like that. But we're once again at the point you just mentioned that human beings are holistic. So you can't only focus on the mechanical part because there is some studies that when you relax before you learn something new, that you learn it better. So
Hmm.
these kind of sensors could be easily implemented in regimens, in treatments, so that people learn faster, or you enhance neuro regeneration or like a neuro adaptability, so that they learn faster, but also that they cope with the stress they have. So
Hmm.
I would say in general that the psychological sensors, the typical biofeedback sensors, are underutilized.
Can you expand more? Like, how would such a sensor, like an example of how would such a sensor work? Because my idea is for this podcast is to talk to rehabilitation therapists. Something that annoys me in the healthcare industry is that we work in silos. It's like, oh, you
Hmm.
should go there. I'll
Yeah.
do whatever I do. I don't care what everyone else is doing. That's only my scope. And I don't think that's helpful for patients or for therapists. We need to be more holistic. So let's assume everyone like listening to us today have the same idea. So
Hmm.
like just
Hope so.
yeah, I hope so. Just touch a little bit more on how such sensors work, because a very big part of the rehabilitation protocol is psychological, and every therapist knows this. At least intuitively, they know that. If they don't do it intentionally, we always know like this patient is very depressed. They are not showing any progression because physically we know they can, but it seems like something in their mind is preventing them from progressing. So just like expand a little bit more on this. What are those
Yeah.
sensors? What are the applications and stuff?
So the most typical one, like the one when I show people sensors or psychophysiology, tough word, is actually the skin conductance. Skin conductance is a very, very easy thing to explain to people. It's actually, you can use it to show therapists what biofeedback or what these sensors are, and you can also show it to patients because it's easily understandable. Most people know it from lie detectors. It's also the proof why lie detectors don't work, because you can learn to like train this thing. So when you are stressed, most of the time, like your skin conductance rises. It's just a small amount of sweat gland activity mostly in the fingertips. It's all over the body, but it's easy to measure on the fingertips. And then when you relax, it goes down. So what I show to people most of the time is I put a sensor on them, like no
Yes.
advertisement, I just have it like here. It's also from a Canadian company, funnily
Wow.
enough. It's from Ford Technology. It's a small finger sensor who, besides other things, measures the skin conductance. And then I just talk to them, and then you could say, okay, now let's think about your treatment protocol. What are we going to do today? And it's very likely that patients like you described would show a spike in GSR activity. And then when you say, okay, and now let's talk about something else again, that it goes down. And this alone, that you show the people, okay, yeah, this is the thing that stresses you. It's not something else. It's not this. It's not this. That people are very resilient sometimes to the truth. But when you said that before, like with the hamstrings, you're actually like good in interoception because some people feel that, but don't get the idea. But when you
Yes.
show it them on the screen, because we are so visually dependent and we live in the 21st century, then they believe you. And this is something that really is really helpful to get on the right track together, and then maybe check, okay, let's do a relaxation exercise first. Let's calm down. Or if it's needed, bring a psychologist in. Because like if somebody lost a limb, he has every right to a psychologist.
Yes.
Because it's very traumatic. Or also one really big thing is the EMG. I often sold it as a pure motivation tool, because as I said before, sometimes the activity in the muscle is so small that it's not feelable, but it's measurable. And when you show to people that it gets better, they keep on going. Because how often is rehabilitation stopped because people have the feeling that nothing is going forward. But if you show it, hey, look, this is 0.5 microvolt, which is nothing. But they see a sense of progress. It's kind of gamification, actually.
Yes.
So these are the sensors that I really liked.
Yeah. So if we are talking about skin conductance, is that a chemical sensor?
No, it's electrical. So it measures how good your skin conducts electricity, or how bad. So there's two things
Yes.
which are basically the same thing. And yeah, it's just a really simple electrical sensor. It's actually it has only one, I would say, disadvantage. Like it has one technical disadvantage. This is it has to touch the skin, really. So you can't encapsulate it into something. And one other thing is it has no how to say, no values which are universal to everyone. So
Yeah.
it's a relative. You have to always look at it relative, but that is, you just have to understand that as the practitioner and then show it to the client. So this is
Yes. It's yeah, it's individual. So you don't have
yes,
like universal guidelines to
exactly.
program it against it.
Yeah, we only look at it like in a relative thing. Like if your skin conductance rises like 50% from its baseline to its stress sensation, then we say, okay, that's interesting. It's actually the number one biofeedback mistake is overinterpretation of results, because when you zoom in really far, you will always see something.
Yeah.
But when you look at the absolute values, it's just non-existent. But I've seen people. I always used calculations in the brain. I
Mm-hmm.
asked people like to count backwards from 2000 in 17 steps or something like that. I never go further than 1983 because I have already showed what I wanted to show. Because even when I start, I'm saying the exercise, there is a spike. Math seems to be such a dramatic thing
Yes.
for everyone.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then I show them, okay, and now take some deep breaths, and you see like how this curve goes down. And then they also feel that they are in control because, okay, such a simple thing as a brain calculation can stress me, but also something simple as breathing can calm me down. And this gives people a really high sense of self-efficacy.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Another thing that I don't know if you've seen it, you definitely saw it. I just want to know if you have any like hands-on experience in is remote monitoring.
Mhm.
So I think that's a very heavy sensor place or environment. Have you seen any practical applications?
Yeah, like a lot of them. Actually, this is one of the core offerings that Sendance, like my previous company, had, because it was not also like the service was not only Sendance sensors, like the technology, but there was from the beginning was the Sendance cloud also, so that
Mm-hmm.
people can have a safe place where an in IoT application is then possible, so that the doctor can check from his practice. How the patient is doing, or that you have a recall system, because currently this thing is it's very impractical actually. Like for
Mm-hmm.
people living in cities, they don't think about that. But if you think about rural communities, if they have to go to a check-in regularly, this is a huge hassle because it's quite far, and sometimes then they just don't go. But
Mm-hmm.
if you have tele rehab or stuff like that, you can just do that remote.
Mm-hmm.
And also like for the insurances, at the moment we just find a way, okay, how often should someone come visit? And sometimes that's too late, and sometimes it's unnecessary.
Yes.
Um, Unnecessary is actually better. It's because it only costs money, but too late is worse because then it
Yes.
can cost a limb.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have a constant tracking, then you can just set a threshold and say, okay, if the pressure on this area exceeds 25% of something I wanted to say, then give me a notification, and then somebody will call that patient and tell him to come in. And this is massive cost reduction, and is actually quite simple to set up.
Yeah.
So as you said, things got quicker, but not like it's still medical, so it still has to be certified in very
Yes.
very hard ways. And the other things is also to companies, there is remote tele rehab where you have a tool that shows you if you do the exercise correct. There's a
Mm-hmm.
company called Cerita who has a
Mm-hmm.
biofeedback insole, which gives
Yes.
you a feedback. But there's also like something there you make the exercises with the physiotherapists and have sensors on you at the
Mm.
same time. So it's
Yes.
remote. You have a live session, but the therapist has a better understanding of what's going on with you because she has the sensors. And yeah, this is the thing. And I think this is the field of the future, like telemedicine,
Yes.
tele-rehab. Was just it's I hope so, because
Yes.
yeah, because I also don't like visits I don't need.
Yeah, exactly. And so we are talking about rehab, but also this field is huge in terms of, as you said, like assisted living. As we all know, the population is growing older. Support is sometimes non existent, unfortunately. Childless people or people with children who are really like busy and not beside their parents. So those elderlies are at risk of actually multiple things like falls, for example. That would be a huge area where I don't know if through the cameras we can set an algorithm. If this person falls down, it
Yeah.
just alerts people. If they need continuous glucose monitoring, for example, it's some kind of sensor as well that shows on the dashboard somewhere else. As you said, there are a lot of complications. First is like to be certified, for people to accept being monitored the whole time. How easily it is for medical staff, as much as the population is growing older, also we have shortage in medical staff. So who is monitoring all this stuff? Is it automatic? How accurate it is? All the stuff. But definitely for people in rural communities or elderly sitting alone, that would be like a huge let's say preventative measure for those populations.
Yeah, there's like some also like some there's like you said the risk of falling. You can have like both are of course most of the time a very expensive solution is the best. Like there's a company in Austria called Cogvis who kind of solved this privacy issue because they don't have a camera. Like it's not a camera, it's a different technology that shows you if somebody falls,
Hmm.
but like he's never being recorded. Because this is a huge thing about this tele rehab and telesensors that people you also have to take away the feeling of being watched.
Yes.
It has to be a feeling of taken care of, not a feeling of being watched, because many
Yes.
people don't want a camera, and I also don't want a camera inside my
Yeah,
home.
exactly. Yeah.
Um, so this is something that is really it's cool that it's just it looks like small details, but it's like a huge tail on the end.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why we say like sensors are the basic unit here. So without the sensors, all this is non-existent basically. So we have the sensor. We have a person who is whose the sensor is relaying information from, and we typically have a certain algorithm going between the two. So can you tell me more about the setup?
Mhm. So it's most of the time, like the algorithms can be like very complex, or can be actually quite simple too. Like what I said, like the algorithm of like this Cogwis of the fall prevention is quite complex because I don't know how it works
Yeah.
because I think it's proprietary information. So this is something that seems to be very complex, and I think it is. Um,
Yeah.
Currently, there's a lot of machine learning, of course, involved, but it can also be very simple. That you can have like the sensor, and then a calibrated sensor. The sensor shows like this baseline value, and you say, here we have 20 kilopascal or whatever. Actually, we have to call it X because it can be different depending on how much the person weighs and stuff like that. And then you say, okay, this person had an accident. He can use his foot only like 25% of his like maximum weight. You have
Hmm.
a partial loading, and alert me and alert the patient if he oversteps that by this amount. So this would be like a super simple algorithm.
Hmm.
It would be tough to call it an algorithm because it's just a simple calculation.
Yeah.
And then this just gives you and the provider an alert and shows you that something needs to be done. And also like it can show you even if you don't do it live, even if you just check it then when you go coming in, it can show you why something happened.
Uh-huh.
Because this is I okay, I'm talking about Cogvis again. They are also because I was at a conference where they were, so I have it in mind now.
Yeah.
Um, that they can kind of show you like why person fell, or this is very simply put. They can
Yes.
help you prevent falls in the future
Oh,
because
okay.
there's not we don't only have like this single incident that we want to prevent with the sensors. This we can use the sensors and gather data
Mm.
to prevent further accidents. Because if we see, okay, 90% of the time when people were doing this, and this, something happened, then we can check that further. And this is, yeah, this is also like the basis for everything when people say we are using AI.
Mhm.
And I always ask them, okay, yeah, with what data? Like where
Yes,
is your data? You need data to train your AI. You need data to train your machine. And this is maybe an unpopular opinion, but I think people are currently so deep into AI and machine learning that they are not really using it in the way that it's meant to be,
exactly.
and neglecting the data. Because
Yes.
there is no, if ChatGPT was not trained on billions of data, it would be stupid.
Yes, exactly. I'm seeing this repeatedly in, for example, women health startups, where they are suffering from the idea that if we get all data with current AI, what we will get is bias because we don't have enough data of from like real life situations, from real medical situations on women that shows us if we train the algorithm, we will get definite results. So with the current data, everything we are getting is noise. So we are taking a step back. We are collecting data, and then we will propose solutions, and that's exactly the case. So that's like just a disclaimer when I was saying like someone can do their own product. It's like definitely we are in healthcare. Everything is regulated. You cannot just start doing this thing on patients and just do your own results. You need good information, good data for you to start somewhere. Um, and okay, so we touched on many things that I want to extend further. One of them, you are talking about many companies, and I saw you through December, like having this advent calendar, and like you are speaking about companies who are in the space. Um, and you touched on some of them, but like, can you just give us more examples? Like, this is what this podcast is about. So, like some companies that people can check that are doing interesting things in this space,
Hmm.
like whatever comes to your
So
mind.
so yeah, but let's not just use that. Let's open
Yeah,
my
yeah.
LinkedIn in the
You
background. So no, of course, like the first one I have to mention is Sendence, because Sendence is like base of stuff, because like they are implementing sensors. So
Mhm,
what is the sentence definitely has to be checked, because what they are really doing is creating something that allows people to put sensors into their products. So it's actually a step before a final product.
mhm,
And you need a special kind of sensor technology to use it in rehab, in orthopedics, because if you are using it, of course, it's something soft, but like when you go to the bottom of it, like it's really tough and rigid stuff you are working with. And many sensors are like very fragile, and you need a technology that can go with that, and Sandens can do that. So they have to be checked out. The other one is, as I said, Saphenus.
mhm,
Saphenus is for me, because this is something I, in every biofeedback presentation I hold, I have a like kind of a slide for Saphenus, because like giving sensation back, it's
mhm.
I also, yeah, I always used it as kind of, okay, this is also biofeedback, because we want to make stuff measurable that is not feelable. Yeah, so I was saying, okay, actually, yeah, that's true. That's what they're doing.
Yeah.
Then who else do we have? We have okay, yeah, well, for the biofeedback stuff, or if you want to do things like help people before your exercises, or want to check the stress levels, there is this Canadian company, Thought Technology. You have to check for the retailer in your current location, because they
Mhm,
work with retailers, like the biofeedback world leader. There's a Greek company called Eight Blacks that helps people adjust a scoliosis brace.
mhm.
This is one of my, I don't want to sound arrogant, but I'm always happy when I see someone already had an idea that I thought I came up with. So
Yeah.
actually, it's cool. And like for school, many people struggle. Okay, I have a brace. How tight does it have to hurt my child or not? And they can give you a sensor where the practitioner can set like a something, um, where they how to use that.
Yeah, that's cool.
Um, okay, something that is not. Okay, we were talking about sensors, because I was thinking about like created real, but they are like they are 3D printers. Fix is like the company for tracking of diabetic feet. There is
We mentioned Sariter.
Cerita.
Yeah.
Cerita is it's really nice because like they have a kind of a sound-based biofeedback also, and I really like that because many people think biofeedback that it's in the visuals. It has to be quant, it has to be fantastic looking and stuff like that. Not like most of the studies, I think, are done with a simple um, beep if you do it
Hmm.
correctly. And this is enough. Like getting rewarded is so deep ingrained in us that you will hear a beep if you do it right is more than enough for
Yes.
our brain.
Yes.
I once made like something like a session where you just get a
Oh,
smiley when you did it correct. This is actually everything you had to do.
yeah. So Sariter, I think I'll get them one day on the pod. I talked to
Oh,
Jan,
nice.
and he was like, "Yeah, we can do it, but like I don't know how busy they are." So, yeah, basically one day we will talk more about
They are
what they are
founders,
doing.
so
Yes,
yeah, so
exactly.
they have their yeah. Um, There's another, so that I don't not only talk about my previous companies with Sandens, there's someone in the US called Liquid Wire, making strain sensors that are very robust and very flexible. Like if you have people staying at home or in rehab where you want to do fall prevention, there is
Mhm.
Cogvis, very, very intense company. Um, yeah, and also like I almost forgot. This is why I have notes here. Companies like Neubond, for example, or Articulate Labs, which are in this field I mentioned at the beginning, like with the stimulation.
Yes.
This is very very interesting and underutilized, I think, because it always it seems so simple. So yeah, just use electricity and stimulate it. But if you do it correctly, this can be so yeah, so helpful.
Yeah. So
Yeah, these are
Neopoint is
some
like a wearable, right?
yes, exactly. So that you can, because people don't train often, and it helps.
Yes.
So many of these things I just mentioned would be. I always said, like in an ideal world, would never really be successful selling biofeedback devices
Hmm.
because we would believe our practitioners, we would feel our body, we would know when we are stressed. But in the real world, it's not like that. So in a perfect world, you may think, often you see studies also where you see no particular advantage of the mentioned products because the study only includes people who are following the regimen. But how many people do that in relapse? So non-adherence is actually one of the biggest factors. And
Yes.
if you have something that just targets the adherence, it doesn't have to be better than bona fide treatment. It can be as good,
Hmm.
but people do it. And yeah, it's shown people like bio.
Yeah, so it's adherence, it's connecting to our own body, it's giving therapists a benchmark against the normal or our previous states.
Mhm.
It's for monitoring and prevention, for seeing like the results of our treatment. So it's everywhere. And as you said, sometimes the advancement is so tiny that a patient may be demotivated to continue going, or the therapist really does not know if what they are doing is working. And sometimes our brains overpower us, as you said about the stress. So we don't really know what's going on. There is like our body is reacting to something and we cannot really understand what's going on. So in all those cases, they are definitely very helpful. And speaking of monitoring, we are
Mhm.
basically becoming walking dashboards, right? So, for example, I noticed that if I'm like 20 minutes into my workout and my watch is not recording, I'd be very frustrated. Like, where are all the calories that I've lost? How long have I been
Yeah.
training?
Yeah.
Like, nothing is counted. So basically, for me, I'm really focused on tracking my workouts and my sleep because I wasn't sleeping well. So I cannot really go without my smartwatch. And I've also heard from many colleagues that they are having patients who are actually more technologically advanced than they are, and they are bringing with them all sorts of data and wearables and like new devices. So my question is, maybe maybe that's hard to tell, but how do we really know that, like, what are some questions a therapist might ask to really know if the sensor that is not a medical device, not being measured against anything, how can they tell if the sensor is really telling the truth, kind of, or the data that they have from patients is really telling them what they need to know?
That's a really big thing. So the only way to be 100% sure is how we have it in Europe, at least, class 1M medical device, measuring device,
Yeah.
because then you have to prove it to somebody, and but it's very, very expensive. And funnily enough, like often the sensors, I looked at non-medical grade sensors, and they show the same readouts as medical sensors, but like the companies just can't afford
Yeah.
to get them certified, or like there is no place where they can go at the moment because everyone is booked. Um, and it is actually, it's, I don't think it's 100% solvable. That the only thing that you can really do for yourself is, of course, know the brands. Like if you like, if for example, let's use thought technology. If the world market leader in biofeedback brings a device as a wellness device, which is not a medical device, I would be very sure that
Mm-hmm.
that this are good readings.
Mm-hmm.
But then you have to know it. So this is not easy, because how would you know? And of course, no company will tell you, yeah, we are not very good in what we do.
Yeah.
Like even like even if they are bad readings. Um, Price is sometimes quite a good indicator, but also not 100%, because like some research grade sensors are quite cheap,
Mm-hmm.
but like very good. You
Mm-hmm.
can check if they have been used in studies. This is often a very good indicator. But what really helps is if you, the worst things I think come if something makes no sense
Mm-hmm.
at all. So that you have to understand the parameter you're measuring.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody shows you something is that, yeah, we're sitting here and the reading showed 3,000 microvolts, then you know this is an artifact, because I don't know even if you have a stroke, if you or like have an epileptic seizure. I
Yes.
don't think even then you would have that. Or if somebody tells you, I was, yeah, let's find a not good biofeedback company, when then you ask them if there's reference values for the skin conductance. Because
Mm-hmm.
if your product tells you, yes, this is bad because on this actual number, then and you know it's relative, then you know it's hard for that. So that's the only thing you can get, like you can understand serious misreadings, or when something just makes no sense at all.
Mm-hmm.
But on the other side, it's, I think it's tough, because they can be really good. As far as I know, I'm not a big I use the smartwatch thing just because I think it's funny.
Mm-hmm.
Um, But as far as I've heard, like the Apple Watch is really, really good in reading in reading heart rate and stuff like that.
Yes.
And it was super bad 10 years ago or 20 years ago. All these
Mm-hmm.
devices, they were like really, really bad as far as I
Yes.
remember. And now they are super good. So this is actually one of the biggest challenges, I think. Maybe there will one day be a kind of a middle ground certification, where you
Mm-hmm.
have to like say, okay, we're not a medical product, but we have this and this certificate which shows we are measuring correctly. So don't use it for clinical decisions, but use it for general training, stuff like that, which would not be allowed in the European Union. As far as I remember, if something is able to lead a practitioner's mind to a conclusion, then it has to be certified
Yes.
class 2A, and this
Yeah.
is one of the
Yeah,
high class.
exactly. So it's like take it with a grain of salt. We can't really tell, and use common sense. And also some research. So it doesn't really work to be a clinician by the textbook anymore because of all the changes that are happening. It's the same thing when someone comes with a ChatGPT analysis of their case.
Which
So
is sometimes amazingly good, to be honest.
yes, exactly, exactly. It
Yeah,
is that. Yeah, that's the thing. We cannot be really very how can I say it, like solid and like radical in our opinions anymore. Because even if like I used to be a clinician, and when someone tells me we asked in Google, I lose my mind. Like, what am I doing? I studied all those years, and then I noticed that that's the ego speaking actually, because
true. Yeah.
I ideally, some things are really stupid in Google when they do the results, um, and especially when
Everything is cancer. Everything is
yeah,
cancer.
everything is
Yeah.
exactly, and people
Yeah.
are really like scared to death about the results that they are getting, and you need to guide them. But sometimes we use Google as well as medical practitioners. It's just about the prompt, like what exactly am I searching about? It's different from how the patient is searching, but it's a knowledge source as far as I know. Like I'm allowed to use the tools they are allowed to, so we can let them, but also just like guide them and also hold this responsibility by knowing that we can no longer just leave the university and think that's everything we knew and that's what we are going to do, because the landscape is changing. And as far as I know, no one is really training rehab practitioners on this stuff.
This is
So
why we kind of like, no matter how good the technicians who are and how good the engineers and the startups are, the whole sector needs the support of like doctors, of physical therapists, of occupational therapists, because they are in the field and they are the ones who are talking with patients, who are talking with insurances. Also, like
yes,
you don't have any chance of, because I understand it. Of course, the insurance has no interest in talking to somebody who's manufacturing it, because of course he will oversell it.
yes,
How can he not? But like if you have a doctor speaking for you, that makes stuff much easier. So it's always like very often like you have projects or small projects which are not financially beneficial, but they are beneficial in the long run because it's made by a medical university.
yes,
If if the medical university of Harvard makes a study using sentence sensors, even if it's a zero-sum game, everyone would do it because
yes,
it needs the visibility and it needs to go to the patients. Um, and that's, I think it will get easier because people are get more accustomed
hmm,
to this stuff, because as you say, everyone is using a smartwatch, everyone is tracking stuff. Funnily enough, I am not, which is very interesting because I have maybe this is the reason I have a very good interoception, so I
yeah,
feel it very early when something happens inside my body.
amazing, yeah,
So that helps a lot. But many people don't. And when you said the ego speaking, this is it's so I really know that feeling. Is something I was telling to people. It's so frustrating when you have people you studied for years and they don't believe you that they are stressed, even though like they're sitting in front of you with their shoulders tense,
mm, mm.
so tense, and then they see it on the screen. Ah, yeah, maybe you're right. Okay, what the hell? I told you this for three
Yeah,
years, and now you see it on the screen, and that's
we have this concept of in writing like show don't tell, and that's exactly what sensors do. Like they show us stuff. Like many people who won't be convinced by you telling them anything, even if you are an expert, but show them the results and they're like, yeah, maybe I was wrong. So that's basically a main function. And speaking about this, like clinician in the loop, I've seen many inventions and innovations where there is this mismatch between engineers and founders spending year in the lab doing stuff that they think is amazing. It's gonna change the world. It's like clinicians will like it, and then clinicians like straight hate it and don't use it. Have you seen any examples? Do you have any advice?
this.
Because
Yeah,
you worked with
yeah.
founders, you sold those sensors. Like, what is your advice? What is some like real cases that you've seen that this was an issue, and how did you do you advise people to go around it?
Yeah, the first time I noticed this thing was, I think like before sentence even, I met someone. He was he was like helping founders, but then so what he was doing is he was helping founders find a problem for their solution.
Yeah.
bec so sometimes because there are companies who make amazingly technical stuff, but then the people don't like it for some reason, because maybe doctors don't like it because then people come with all their readings and say, "Hey, but my thing says this, and you say something different." And
Mm.
who likes this?
Yeah.
Um, so I think always going like from a real world problem to your solution is good. So, and you never build. I won't like stop someone from building, because you never know if the intended use case you have may be total bad, but it
Mm.
may work something else, somewhere else. So this is always a possibility that you have make a startup in medical and end up in industry. You never know, because sensors are, you can use sensors for industry too. So it's actually
Yes.
the same thing. Um, and really important is that you get people on the team that are not only technical. I think that was one of the main reasons
Mm.
I was hired actually, because you have to know whom do you talk to, what they can do, what they can't do, what they won't do. Let's say my current, I have a economic psychology master's degree, but currently, more out of interest, I'm also making like a strict psychology master's degree. It's kind of
Mm.
a side
Mm.
hobby, whatever you may call it. And here my topic is, funnily enough, machine learning in psychotherapy. So if we can use data to predict which treatment will be best for a patient, and if you find a solution that lets a psychotherapist sum up the session in 5 minutes, I think it's doomed to fail, because
Mm.
5 minutes for you sound very short, but a psychotherapist may or may not have 5 minutes after each client to use it. Or if your thing takes 2 minutes to set up, 2 minutes may be too long for a physical therapist to go from house to house.
Mm.
Um, or if you need to really get yourself in the feet of the, I think this is why many good founders often come from the field themselves. Um, that really helps a lot, and you have to get in the field really early and have to really know what, as you said, what only works in the lab. Because there's this person, I think he's from Vanderbilt University, called Selig, if I pronounce him correctly,
Oh,
who
yes.
once made a, yeah, he made a really good
Dr.
post
Carl?
about
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
about EMG, where I talked, okay, EMG, yeah, it's okay, now I'm too loud. EMG is a super useful tool. It's very precise, but it's not perfect for real life examples, because you use electrodes and you most often of the times you use cables. You don't have to use cables, of course, but of course there are also dry electrodes, so it can work, but it's much more difficult for the use case you want to. So you have to sometimes find a substitute.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if you want to see, for example, okay, did somebody use his leg after an accident? You can, of course, use an EMG directly on the leg, which is quite tough. But you can also even use only like a step counter on the smartphone, because more likely than not, if somebody walks 10,000 steps a day, he will have used his leg.
Yeah.
Of course, there's also always the possibility that he just jumped on one foot,
Yes.
but that's unrealistic.
Yes.
Or use an IMU, or use stuff like that. Or there's many things like that where you have to really think. You have to think dumb.
Mm.
And because like the world is stressful enough, and you are, no matter what your product is about, this topic is only one topic in the life of the patient. Even if it's something as radical as a prosthetic leg, it's just his leg. It's not his heart. It's not his food. It's not his drink. It's not his need to go to the toilet. It's not his friends. So they only have this limited amount of mental space to think about it. So if it's, I used to say, if it's not simple, it's broken.
Yeah.
This may be too radical for engineers, and they may hate me for that, because things are never simple.
Yeah.
Um, but I think the best teams are the ones where engineers and medical staff works together.
Yeah, exactly. I've like talking about finding a problem for your solution. It's something like that's typical like the demand generation marketing stuff. Like you do the thing, we do good marketing and we'll find people to buy it, and that's really not realistic. It's actually one of the things that I have a problem with founders about. It's like you cannot do that. You need to go from an established need and you fill that need. You will find more demand and more people willing to do this. What happens when you try to fit a problem to this solution is that you are just like going upstream of things. Everything is harder. It's harder to approve pilots. It's harder to get the clinicians to use it. Sometimes management forces clinicians to use a solution that they hate, and eventually they are not going to use it, and the management eventually is not going to buy it. So it's really not realistic to do it. Of course, in some cases, it's just like if the real use case is just like hidden offside and you find it, that's
That's it.
amazing.
That is there. I also had that now in my head. So
Yes.
there will be some companies who are just like fighting the battles that need to be fought because it's just so abstract, the use case that they are doing. I'm pretty sure like Safenos is for example, fighting this battle. Like I'm not sure. I mean, I think they're reasonably successful, but also because they have a lot of talk about phantom pain. But like if they would only talk maybe about this psychological feeling we talked about, who knows if they would be so successful, because it's not as the insurance is often not interested in that, because you just need to walk, you need to function kind of.
Yeah.
And some companies need to fight this battle, maybe.
Yes.
But most don't. Just find something you hate.
Yeah.
And make it different. That's also my
Exactly. And sometimes I say, like, it's really sad that in this industry, things that would be very helpful to patients, like medical professionals hate and don't use, because it takes time, it's hard to learn, maybe it doesn't fit in their workflow, they are stressed. Most of them are incentivized to make any difference, actually. They just want to finish the sessions that they have, which is really sad, but that's the reality. And if medical practitioners don't use it, maybe patients won't either, especially if that's not a patient device, direct to patient. It's like it should go through therapists or doctors. So that's a real problem, yeah, that's why the mismatch between what the engineering team is doing and what the clinical teams need is a big gap. It's really like you need a clinician in the loop. Yeah, exactly. So,
I often also ask like really patient groups, like what they need, because this is really amazing, like especially for chronic diseases, how much of experts, like the people who bear the load actually of it, are like they're really professional with it. They are not doctors, but of course they deal with it every day. So let's example like long COVID and stuff like that, ME/CFS. You need to talk with the people because you can just not imagine it. It's not possible to imagine it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like it's schizophrenia. You can't imagine it. You can imagine depression maybe a bit, but you can't. There's some things you have to talk to the people who are patients, because you won't understand it.
Yeah, it's really the bad call if someone is listening today, and I can give an advice for an early founder. Don't lock yourself in your apartment or in your lab and try to build something and then bring it up to the world. Try to talk to people before, whoever those people are, maybe future users, maybe people who did the same thing that you are doing, maybe clinicians that you are trying to help. It doesn't really help. Some people are like, I'm in stealth mode, I won't tell anyone until this is finished because I'm afraid people will take my idea and run with it. And
that was a big thing. Before I started posting on LinkedIn, I was thinking people will steal my but I'm not saying that everything that about Steve Jobs' leadership style was good with me, but there's this famous saying like an idea is worth nothing. There are so many good ideas. When I was 17, I had an idea. Wouldn't it be cool if we have like these payback cards, but like one for every shop? So I had the idea. 5 years later, like the big supermarkets in Austria did it. Yeah, and it is very successful. Okay, so what was my idea worth? Even if it would have, I didn't do it,
Yes.
and I had no idea about doing it. Like, I think that many people have good ideas about tackling diabetic feet, but do you have the potential to do it? Do you have the
Yes.
interest? Do you have
Yes, exactly.
the courage?
Yeah, so try it. So that's your sign to pursue your next ideas. So
Yeah,
it's like
always.
they are going successful,
Yeah,
right? But like for people, just like talk more about your idea. Even if someone takes this idea and implement it, we should really not underestimate the power of our brains. So if you came up with this idea, you have all other ideas that will also be helpful. Let's say this idea was really stolen and someone implemented it, that would be like 5 to 6 years like down the road. So if you think someone else is willing to do that, do it your own on your own, but don't just lock yourself somewhere and try to work on something that you don't know if will work on or not. So
and
yeah.
especially I think it's actually easier if you're doing it public, because if you're doing it super public, even if you don't have it patented yet, there's the law.
Mm-hmm.
And there is also like the publicity effect. Like if I make something and very publicly and show how cool my biofeedback game on the smartwatch is, and Apple steals it,
Mm-hmm.
it will be a huge publicity fallout for Apple if I can prove
Yeah.
that that this was my idea. Because like imagine Apple stealing from small guy in Austria, it would be a big headline.
Yeah.
So and then you get just paid for that. Even that's also kind of an exit.
Yes, yes, exactly. So exit on your ideas, not on your
Yeah,
startups.
exactly. Yeah,
That
true.
would be a good business model.
Yeah, true.
Okay, so
Just sue people and say it was my idea.
yeah. That's amazing. Good idea. So, Markus, this brings me to the end of my questions. Actually, I think I asked you everything that was on my mind. We touched on many amazing things. I really enjoyed our conversation. But before we go,
Likewise.
yeah, thank you. So before we go, I want you to just tell anyone who might be interested in working with you, how can they find you? What are you looking for? How you can help if anyone happens to be listening to our conversation today?
Yeah. So the best thing actually is really I'm really easier to reach via LinkedIn than even via email, which is
Yes.
I don't know if sad or special, but so it's just Markus Stefka on LinkedIn, and mostly if you are interested in stuff for like biofeedback, in every case, like it doesn't have to be psychological biofeedback. Also, if I think my slide I once had was called orthopedics needs biofeedback, and I will bring it to them if they want or not. So for that, but also like for everything with regarding sensors. So if you want an introduction to the companies I mentioned, my big focuses, I would say, is like the things of gamification. This is one big topic for me, telemedicine, and also like the psychological stuff around it, because it's very underutilized. I have found an easy niche because it's very underutilized. Psychology in all these sectors is super underutilized.
Exactly.
So that's when people can.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to read more about this like specialization and like the undertapped niche that you found. I'm really interested to like learn more from you. I'll link to your LinkedIn profile with the description of this episode. And of course, we'll add some like clips to social media for anyone who is interested in like shorter like the shorter sections of this episode. Yeah. Thank you so much, Markus.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Had so much fun.
All the best to I was originally told all the best to I should pronounce it Toronto. I should not pronounce that. Yeah, not to. Okay.
Yeah,
all the best to Toronto.
Thank you.
Then, thank you. Bye.
Bye bye.